Gaukar, heading Civil Engineering Department at Mukesh Patel School of Technology Management and Engineering from NMIMS. Here we are together to understand the prospects of civil engineering as well as an additional responsibility which has come on our shoulders as a civil engineer to look after the sustainability aspects of the earth as well as overall globe. So in that case, I would like to welcome all the delegates to this session and I will hand over it to Mr. Chittaranjan.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It has been over 3 decades since the concept of sustainability began gaining attention across various sectors. I remember attending conferences as a journalist in the late 90s. Now, after all these years, a pressing question remains: where do we stand? Particularly in the fields of civil engineering and urban planning, especially in Mumbai. How many buildings are actually implementing it? Alarmingly, we continue to extract groundwater illegally, rapidly turning our freshwater tables saline. If this continues, Mumbai could face severe water scarcity, perhaps even desertification in the coming decades. While the trend of green buildings is finally gaining momentum, there is still a long way to go, especially considering our massive population and infrastructure demands. We also have access to affordable solar energy, but how many buildings are truly harnessing it? Advanced composting solutions do exist, yet adoption remains limited. Water-saving technologies are available, yet outdated flush systems that waste enormous amounts of water are still the norm, placing a heavy burden on our municipal systems. Addressing these challenges requires honest discussion, collaborative consensus building, and precise execution with long-term vision. That's why we are gathered here today with a distinguished panel of experts to guide us through these crucial issues. I welcome you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, first and foremost, I will introduce the panelists today. Of course, we have Dr. Gaukar,
Hello.
who is the head of Department of Civil Engineering, and she has PhD and specialization, particularly in water resource engineering, and has spent almost over 12 years now in academics. She is the member of American Society of Civil Engineers and has guided students for PhD thesis. To her credit are the certifications like remote sensing and GIS technology and application for university teachers and government officials. Am I right, madam?
Yeah.
And she is also a coordinator for National Institutional Ranking Framework and National Board for Accreditation. So welcome, madam. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to join.
Next panelist is our Mr. Vidyadhar Vengulekar. He is a graduate in civil engineering from VJTI, Mumbai, with background of post-graduation in environmental law and geoinformatics from National Law University, Delhi, and has core competence in water supply and sewerage planning, detailing execution and management. He has collective experience of over 35 years, having worked for Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai as the executive engineer in charge in its water supply department and sewerage department. Now, after resigning, he has joined private sector as a consultant and is working there for almost 15 years now.
Yes.
He is an expert in asset management for water sector and developed GIS-based asset management strategy rehabilitation, replacement and renovation. So welcome you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Vengulekar. Now we will move on to 2 more panelists who are the alumni of our institution. So it's a proud moment for us. We have Sahil Popat. Sahil is currently working as a deputy manager planning at Shapoorji Pallonji and Company Private Limited, where he leads the planning department for a high-rise building project in southern Mumbai. He holds a BTech in civil engineering from NMIMS and a postgraduate degree in Advanced Construction Management from NICMAR. Sahil's expertise spans project management, planning and scheduling, cost control, and contracts management with a strong interest in utilizing data-driven tools for informed decision-making on complex construction projects. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
We welcome our fourth panelist, Saurabh Desai. Saurabh is a civil and environmental engineer by training with a master's degree in environmental engineering from the University of Cincinnati, USA. During and after his formal education, he has amassed diverse academic research and industry experience. He has collaborated from design to commissioning on effluent treatment plants to working on the design pollution sectors as per NABET. He has also worked on multiple environmental impact assessments projects. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. So let's start our discussions. The first and foremost question will go to, of course, Dr. Neelam. So a very basic and straightforward, very simple question. How is sustainability being integrated into civil engineering education today?
Yeah, I'm very proud to say that sustainability issue is not today's issue. It is a long-lasting issue. And as a civil engineers, the budding civil engineers who are coming to our college for learning civil engineering, it is our responsibility to make them aware about sustainability, about sensitizing them about climate change, carbon net zero, all these things. So in the syllabus itself, we have added some courses which are related to sustainability. For example, we have added green and intelligent buildings. We have added fundamentals of climate change. Water and wastewater engineering always is a part of the curriculum itself. As well, smart cities and what are the requirements of smart cities to understand the sustainability issue out of it. That is, we have already incorporated in our curriculum. As well, in the projects, if the students are doing projects, we make sure that there should be some component of sustainability in that.
A very small sub-question. What more can be done to prepare students for our real-world challenges?
I would like to say, as a part of curriculum, we are having 8 semesters in that, and we do have capstone project component in 7 semesters. And in that, the students are working on actually live field case studies. So that might be from the construction process perspective, that can be in the process of construction materials, or the innovative ideas which can be helpful in taking the sustainability issue ahead. So we make sure that whenever the students are aligning their projects, live projects, so there should be some component of it. And internships which they are doing, there also they should be seeing or implementing the things which they are learning at the BTech level of civil engineering.
Very good. Nice to know that students are exposed to the real-world challenges. Now the next question is, of course, to Dr. Vidyadhar sir. Sir, what are some practical challenges you face actually in implementing these practices, sustainability practices, in the civil engineering projects? Because you have worked on the ground on many projects.
First of all, I will say that most significant thing in implementing these sustainable measures in civil engineering is reluctance of people to accept new concepts. So that's something which we need to change, and that can be changed by newer generation of students or the engineers which are coming out of the institutions with sound knowledge, and they would help it to implement the sustainable solutions in a better way. I would like to say that we were discussing earlier that there is a two category of engineers, one belonging to old school, probably like me, and one belonging to new school of thought, like Saurabh and this team. So we need to integrate them together to provide those sustainable solutions. We have legacy solutions, and we are trying to implement these solutions to make it a sustainable living for everybody, like in water sector, like in the stormwater sector or wastewater sector, putting circular economy in water sector. So that is our attempt. And in this area, civil engineering students will have ample opportunities, and I think sky is the limit. You just think of any concept, and you can develop it further. So given proper opportunity and proper channelization, I think there are so many opportunities for the talents in the civil engineers.
Vengulata sir, I remember when you were with BMC, this was almost a decade ago.
Yes.
There was a main water pipeline project that was happening, if you remember.
Yes.
And that was a very challenging task, given the depth of it.
Yeah.
And the overall construction. It was a mammoth one.
Correct.
So would like to know certain experiences from your side.
Yeah, so civil engineering life is always challenging. So when it comes to work on field, basically you come across something which is beyond imagination of common man. Common man normally sees open the tap and you get water, or your sewage is disposed of, but he doesn't know what happens in the background. So if you look at the effort which engineer has to put and the systems he has to manage, first thing is when he is working in a city, he has to overcome the traffic, the congested cities. We have to overcome those limitations and provide solutions without significant disruption. So it has been almost 25 years that we introduced trenchless technology. And I'm proud to tell you that Mumbai Municipal Corporation is the first organization in the country to introduce trenchless technology for laying of deep pipelines, that is sewers, as well as rehabilitation of old sewers. See, rehabilitation of old sewers is necessary because they are leaking out sewage into the ground. So there is contamination. To prevent that, you need to rehabilitate the sewers. So there are new techniques available which were not known earlier. So we are doing trenchless technology for rehabilitation of sewer. So newer and newer technologies are getting introduced, and that offers a great opportunity for engineers to develop their abilities and provide facilities to the society.
Yeah, in a city like Mumbai, where the population is huge and the demands are huge, I remember there is an international norm that each person should at least get 150 to 200 liters per day. But whereas in Mumbai, the water that we are getting today is almost 120. So are we lagging behind certain norms or technologies or the resources?
See, we have the technology, but I started off with the reluctance of people to accept certain things. Very first thing, we need to look at the water as a circular economy. So whatever water you tap from the fresh water sources has to be kept in circulation. So once that is achieved, we can have a sustainable situation in respect of water. For example, as you said, see, 150 liters, normally our CPHEO manual says 135 liters per capita. Whereas Mumbai people might be getting, lot of people might be getting hardly 90 liters per capita. To enhance that, whatever water is being used for non-potable purpose can at least be put in recirculation and reuse. And I'm proud to tell you that we have taken such measures. We have put up some recycle and reuse plants for putting municipal wastewater into recirculation, albeit it may be for industrial purpose. In Mumbai also we have a recycle reuse plant in the premises of Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizers, RCF. They are using 43.5 million liters of recycled water for their industrial purpose. There is another plant of 140 million liters in Nagpur, Koradi, for generation of power. There was a situation when that plant was about to be closed. during summer season, there is no water in the river, so there is no water for generation of steam. So in such situation, you can develop solutions for recycle, reuse of water so that you provide sustainable solution. So that way we have done few plants, and we will have ample opportunities in circular economy and improving the environment.
Very insightful. Thank you. I'll come to that grey water thing in the next round of our questions. Now, this question goes to both of you, Saurav and Sahil. See, how has your academic foundation in civil engineering helped you incorporate the sustainability as a practice or in terms of education in your professional work?
Thank you for asking me this, sir. During our time in NMIMS, I think firstly I'll just begin my answer with saying that sustainability begins at home. We are taught in the school days that we are taught in the school days about saving water, saving electricity. When we came into our college, we were taught about sustainable materials. How do we proceed further with sustainable materials? We had subjects like environmental engineering. We had green and intelligent buildings in our own our system. And in fact, we had an opportunity to work with mineral lab on our thesis in watershed management. So when we talk about sustainability, we should always talk about sustainability in urban and rural areas as well. So we had, I would like to quote one very good and very simple thing that a district forest officer had told us when we were working on the project at Nashik. So he had told about the importance of rainwater management, watershed management to us, saying that the water that is running, you have to make it jog. The water that is jogging, you have to make it walk, and the water that is working, you have to make it stop. This is how you work to replenish the groundwater systems, and especially in the Vidarbha region where there are so much the rain-shed region areas where there is scarcity of water. It is very important to implement these techniques of sustainability into these areas. So we had also implemented GIS software, and we had actually worked at a district in Nashik, and we had created contour maps with the GIS systems, and actually that is being implemented by some NGOs, Mahmood Ali. And this is how we had professionally also implemented in the education system. Over to you.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. Sahil, great thoughts, by the way. So some of the things that I noticed when we joined NMIMS for my engineering was back in 2011, the sustainability was always at the forefront. When we initially got into the college, that time they introduced us to something called as the Blackboard, which was the e-learning software, which back in 2011, none of the colleges had. And we could always see, like, okay, fine, the paper waste, or like, using the conventionally, like, the assignments to be done on paper and then submitting it to your teacher, then teacher signing it off. Everything was done digitally. And back in the day, it was quite innovative for us also to learn. So I feel like in the conceptual basis also, NMIMS or MPSTME always had sustainability in the forefront when they were trying to adopt certain things. And like Sahil also mentioned, like the courses that we were already doing, like environmental engineering, water resource management, etc. They all always focused on, like, what we can do for the future. And I think that concepts which I learned back then, I did not know how I would apply. But I feel like the conceptual clarity that I had with my professors and the teachers in the college, that helped me today to speak to colleagues like Mr. Vidyadhar and like Mr. Sahil, and like, at least go toe to toe and understand what they're trying to say, because we don't have that much experience as sir, but at least if he's saying something and we can understand that, I would give that credit to NMIMS and MPSTME for giving us the foundation. And then obviously, like, it's all about us, how do we go about with our time. So I feel like sustainability has always been at the forefront, and these are certain aspects that I think we have to do on a day-to-day basis, and we learn as we grow.
So being an alumni, I have a very common question to both of you.
Yeah.
Which sustainability concepts do you think that should have been emphasized more in the college when your education happened in this institute?
So this is a great question when you said. So this question was answered by Sahil when he spoke, because when I was preparing for these this panel discussion, I had wrote down regulatory compliances, what are the rules regulations. Then I had written like green building certifications. But Sahil, he joined the college in I think 2020. 16, and he passed out in 2020, and we passed out in 2015. So I think in the next year itself, NMIMS understood the importance of these subjects of green buildings, intelligent buildings, smart city conceptualizations, and they adopted that. So what we didn't learn during our schooling, during our engineering, that was already adopted by. So I feel like the subjects that I was gonna say, he already mentioned them. So I feel that is So another thing that I think we could add into our conceptual planning, which ma'am also mentioned, is a capstone project, which I did during my master's in the US, and I always felt like that would be a great concept when we were doing our engineering. But I think the college has already moved ahead, and I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
So, which concepts in the US you think that should have been largely accepted by the authorities here to implement certain projects?
Certain concepts when it comes to contaminated site management, which sir mentioned, like a lot of the sewage contamination is happening to our groundwater. Then a lot of like what is happening today is that the cities are growing larger and wider, and the industrial zones are coming in the middle of the cities. So what we saw in Ambernath, what you're seeing in Dombivli, what we're seeing in Taloja, the homes are around the industries now. And what happens is that these sensitive zones, they are critically polluted, or these industries generate a lot of pollution. So tomorrow they are going to vacate those plots and leave the location. So I feel like in India and in college, we should focus on what we should do with these kind of sites, how you can treat them as a different brownfield project and not as a routine greenfield projects, and how the future developers and the civil engineers know how to handle the soil, the groundwater in a special manner and not treat it as a routine project, because there could be some petroleum hydrocarbons in the soil, there could be some chlorinated hydrocarbons, there could be VOCs in the soil, and these are not good for the environment which the construction is going to happen in, and the buildings are going to get deteriorated, or there could be some kind of issues with the health of the people. So I think health risk assessment from an environmental point of view can be taken care of.
And in terms of execution, which fundamental differences do you find while implementing the projects? I'm talking in terms of execution.
Yeah.
So abroad, particularly US and India.
So, so I hope I can say this, but in India we have a very jugaad mentality. So what happens is that anytime we are trying to do something, somebody else is like, I can do this better. But they don't think about it from a conceptual point of view, how that will affect the project or how that would change something which fundamentally was needed for the same. So I think in abroad people don't think, they do, but in India people think first and then do later. So that is a fundamental difference that I saw working abroad and in India.
Sahil, can you share your experience from your career where sustainable engineering practices made a significant impact?
I can definitely share that. So I have worked at a couple of projects where we had targeting LEED Platinum. Okay. So currently also we have incorporated many practices that are sustainable, but it is the practice has become so normal that the engineers, or even perhaps we don't realize that these are actual good practice that we are performing. So we have completely replaced bricks by AAC blocks that has approximately 60 to 70% of fly ash. We are currently using completely 100% recycled rebars. We have implemented soil and dust compression methods by implementing wheel wash areas, by sprinkling water and completely covering these sites and everything. And we had also implemented water recycling, sewage recycling, and we also use the water that has been recycled on site for curing purpose and washing purposes as well. And we are currently working with a very good formwork system that has 1,000 repetitions. So when you compare it with conventional plywood systems, we can only use these for 7 to 10 times. This also saves a lot of wood, and also it completes, and we have currently also reached over for like 400 to 500 repetitions in this formwork system. So these are the many practices that we have followed. But what happens is that it is very necessary to incorporate these practices in the entire life cycle of the project. So it starts right from the design perspective, like when there's the concept of the project is being discussed. Sustainability must be implemented from that phase itself about how we are going to minimize the energy consumption, how are we going to minimize the water wastage, how are we going to minimize the carbon content, or how are we going to make more green spaces out of these areas. So we had also what we have implemented in design terms of view. There are also some. We had also had certain criteria about having electric charging stations. We had natural ventilation, designing the buildings in such a way that we had enough light in the area, inside the buildings, and such that the heat also is minimized within the area. So HVAC loads are getting lower in the building phases. But it is more important to say that we should aim towards building sustainable and resilient structures. So sustainability helps the building to actually sustainability helps the building to not harm the environment. However, the resilience helps the environment to not harm the building. So it should both go hand in hand. So
I remember the state government as well as the center, they have been promoting the use of fly ash, use of plastics in the roads. So all these initiatives were promoted. We don't know whether they have really worked on the ground. So how would you assess them?
So what I say is that currently the use of plastic in pavements is still under the process of studies, if I'm not wrong. And we are already using fly ash in concrete. We are already using, I mentioned AAC blocks. It's made out of, it has 60 to 70% of the content of AAC blocks is fly ash. So that is on the ground level is being implemented very well right now. However, the use of plastic in bricks and in pavements is still under the progress, but there are many pilot projects that are being held and studied by the students of various colleges, and even scientists have been studying this to reduce the plastic waste and in fact reduce the plastic waste and make it possible in the real time.
Anyway, so over to you, madam. Now your students have answered the practical difficulties and the execution part. Now I'll ask you another question. What research areas in civil engineering hold the most promising and do you think will drive the sustainable development in the next step?
Very good question. So I will take it from Sahil itself. The way he was talking about the projects and materials which are being used. Especially you were talking about fly ash use. So here at MPSTME, we try to see that if the solid concrete is there, then what are the components we can add to concrete, so that for some decorative purpose, for some non-load bearing structures, we can use some mixtures of it. For example, students have done the project on plastic bricks. So they have used all the types of plastics, and they have made the bricks which can be used, obviously not for the load bearing structures, non-load bearing structures, and those were quite a decorative one which you can add as a parapet wall for the building. And those are interlocking this thing, so that's why there was no requirement of cement in between also. So second, the projects which students have done, that is use of sludge for making the bricks. That is a very innovative way, because we are getting a lot of sludge which we don't know what to do about it. So students have dried it, they have used it in making the bricks, and calculated their strength, and they have identified where it can be used. So that is a replaceable one. So that's how the material, processes, innovation, research, these are the 4 pillars where civil engineering works upon. Because research is a continuous process for civil engineering. Unless and until we work upon some materials, we get some results, we are not confident about it. By that time, we have to keep on researching the things. When we get confidence about any product or any material or any structure, then only we go for it. So the research areas are basically in civil engineering there are 6 to 7 verticals. So areas are ample. You just take an example of structural engineering, there are so many things to learn about. You can take an example of water resource engineering, there are so many things starting from drinking water to the sewage and again recycling of it. Take an example of transportation engineering, nowadays so many infrastructure projects are coming up. So when we talk about highway engineering, we have to think about and we have to teach about what is a metro rail, how to construct metro rails. So these are the things which are coming to civil engineering. So additionally, from civil engineering, nothing has gone out. Many things have come up. So those are things which are the areas of research for civil engineering. For example, in environmental engineering, wastewater treatment, the way Vengulekar sir was talking about. So there are so many things how to redesign, how to make the optimum utilization of the resources, how to recycle the things. So these are many areas as well as GI, coming up softwares. So that we cannot deny these days. GIS, remote sensing, then many softwares like for groundwater modeling we are using Morphlow, we are using StatPro for structural engineering. So these all things need some basic knowledge of civil engineering and the students can go for the researching as well as doing projects in all these softwares. So at MPSTME at our department we make sure that along with the detailed engineering knowledge we provide some software knowledge also to the students so that they can pace up with the coming up technologies and emerging technologies which are there in civil engineering.
Now, since you have an expertise in water management, I would like to ask you this question, that across Mumbai, as we discussed earlier, the number of bore wells have gone up. The illegal water extraction has also gone up. So eventually, it is emptying our aquifers. And apparently there was a study very recently where Nidhi or Terry, they had done a story saying that the saline water is gushing in this borewell, making our entire groundwater table toxic or saline for that matter. And over a period of time, if this continues, if it grows up, eventually it will desertify our city. There won't be trees growing up in this city. So how do you think, how should we address this now at this juncture?
As an academician, I am very hopeful and very positive about all the things. And I have to be, that thing will be inculcated in my students. So whenever we are talking about any negative things, then we can say that the civil engineers are the people who can make it possible to bring all the beauty of earth and all the things which are there on earth to bring it back and make the society more livable. So in that case, I'm coming to your question. Yes, my area of groundwater modeling and groundwater recharging, we know that the groundwater exploitation is too much in many of the areas. Because day by day, since the climate is changing, our seasons are changing. That's why the amount of water which we are expecting, that we are not getting. So if you see the rainfall data from last few years and this thing, there is quite a variation in the seasons, areas, amount and quality of this thing also. So in that case, yes, it is our responsibility to understand the groundwater very carefully and these are our reserves which will be helpful in the future. Yes, because of this developments, we are making the ground more pervious, pervious strata is not there. We are making it more impervious with the cement, concrete and all these things. So it is requirement to have some channels besides that which will be going to groundwater. So closing the bore wells is not the solution, but how that this water, recycled water will go to groundwater and how it can be recycled, that is a challenge we have to take. For example, I will give you one example of the students. The group of students was working with me. So they came up with some project that they were saying in my village, there is one river which is overflowing and people are, that is the complete village is drenched underwater. So what to do about it? So we thought, 4 or 5 students were there with me. They were 2 years they were working. And they said that we can build some wells which will be taking extra water to that. If the wells are being constructed, there will be a head available at that point. So head, that water head we can use for the turbines to run. And after that, the exit, that can be go to groundwater reserve. So there's a three-phase development which we can install, which we can develop. And that way the students have developed the whole structure and flow of that along with all the dimensions, all the materials and all those cases, and they have got patent for it. So that's how the problems are there. We know the problems. It's our job to change to that problem to an opportunity to
I was coming to the same point. There's absolute lack of awareness among people. Because I remember a decade ago when state government came up with a circular for all the municipal corporations across the state, saying that you should implement roof water rainwater harvesting, rooftop rainwater harvesting. So they made it mandatory definitely for the new buildings, but old buildings, the houses, they haven't implemented all those directives. So eventually the water is going west. It is going into the sea instead of getting into the ground. So what do you suggest? What kind of effective measures should be taken so that it percolates down the last man, the common man of the city?
Yeah, as an academician, I will say that yes, I can do it. But as a practitioner, I think Vengurlekar sir could answer it better way.
Very good. You can throw light on this because you have an experience. You have worked with BMC for a long time.
I will cite some examples. See, we talked about the climate change. In areas like arid areas like Bhuj and Kutch, annual rainfall is hardly 300 millimeter. Mumbai gets around 2,500, 3,000 millimeter. And what the peculiar situation because of climate change is that out of that 300 millimeter rainfall, almost 100 or 150 millimeter happens in couple of days. Now that leads to lot of runoff, and that runoff goes into this Kandla Sea. So there is no means to intercept it. So what has been done in a couple of locations there is that they have created some reservoirs which were earlier part of them were natural, they have been expanded. So that water is getting stored and that is being reused for industrial applications. Otherwise, what will happen? This sustainability of people in that area itself will get affected. So these areas definitely rely on maximizing use of rainwater by storing it and releasing it as required. At the same time, there have been some solutions whereby people are creating injection wells. Of course, those are scientifically made so that the water reaches the aquifer where it is required to be, and then that has led to rise in the groundwater table. And I'm happy to tell you that with these measures, when I visited this Kutch area almost 12 years back, it was completely arid. And now if you are traveling from Bhuj airport towards Kandla, you will see that lot of farms have been developed. Even mango farms are there. So these type of measures which will be possible if engineers think on the basis of geotechnology, hydrology and other things, I think that will lead to sustainable environment creation, even in case of arid areas like that. If you look at situation in cities like Mumbai, definitely there has been serious impact on the surface runoff because all water gets into sea or nalas because there is no pervious.
So I wanted to point you out, as you gave the example of Gujarat, in our backyard in Konkan, there was a report that 40% of the rainwater that falls somewhere in western Maharashtra, it runs off.
Correct.
It goes towards the sea.
Yes.
And without any,
Yes, that's why I said, no, see, that's why I cited that example, because if you intercept that, practically what measures have been taken there, it meets the requirement of that particular industry or that particular establishment for almost 8 to 9 months. So it's a huge requirement and we need to intercept that. In case of Konkan, people typically get carried away by palm trees and other things, everywhere greenery. But if you see the availability of potable water, you will see people are traveling with water containers on their head for kilometers, 2-3 kilometers they are walking every day. So we need to look, and as you rightly pointed out, how we can utilize that. And one problem with the Konkan region is geotechnical problem. And to tackle that, typically you have this laterite rock. And to handle that, you need engineering solutions so that this problem can be handled in a sustainable manner. So just providing some excavated pits may not work everywhere because the water will anyway get drained.
In addition to this, I want to ask you, madam. Basically, the government over the last 7-8 years, they have been implementing Jalayukta Shivar, which is creating artificial lakes and so that water gets percolated down the aquifers and eventually it reaps benefits for the farmers. I don't know how you will evaluate this, whether it has really worked and how should we implement on it.
Yeah, this is a best example of having sustainability in place. So farms need water. They are creating water. They are creating some pits over there. As he said, pits are always not helpful, but some solutions they are given. Water retained over there, same water can be used for the farming and same water can be recycled for some other purposes. So I would say that initiative was really good. Implementation and execution I am not aware of, so I cannot.
No, there was recently a report by a private company. Sorry. So that company is into pollution management. Apparently, this study was done in Pune and Mumbai, and it was found that a large amount of land has been taken over by the concrete because of the development. So the urban land heat effect, which you know all, right? For example, in areas like Warze Karve in Pune, which was a green patch earlier, the high level of urbanization has actually led to increasing temperatures there. This was studied. I mean, it's a well-researched document. Similarly, in Mumbai, in certain parts where, for example, now Goregaon National Park, not needed that we should go much inside it. If you talk about Andheri, Chakala, these areas, now Ghatkopar, all of these, they were found the temperature against the Goregaon, that area, the forest area, was almost 5 degrees more, 5 to 6 degrees more. And that is mainly because of the urbanization, which was not the case earlier. So how do you think we should address this? Both of you. Yeah. And all of you, in fact. Anybody can answer.
So this is a great question, and in actuality, like, this is a big problem that we are facing today. Urban heat island effect, the U value of the walls increases. So I'll just add on to everybody what they have said. So Sahil mentioned that they are using My1 technology for formwork and construction. So that is something which is impacting the U value. So sustainability is a double-edged sword is what I feel. So in that we are using My1 as a alternative. We are doing huge skyscrapers in Mumbai, and these concrete structures, they need to be ventilated. But what happens is that when the sunlight hits the concrete and then it hits the pavement, and what we are doing with all the roads, they are also concretized. The pathways in the buildings, they are concretized. So what you spoke about rightly, that the percolation of the groundwater is not happening. The runoff is going towards the sea. So it is all interlinked. So sustainability has to be done logically, is what I suggest. And a lot of times these problems are like, you try to solve one problem, it is going to affect something else. And then you try to resolve, like, you know, you need to find a balance, is what I feel. Like everything cannot be resolved with, like, you know, हर चीज के लिए एक दवा नहीं है. So, like, you know, the heat island effect, what you have mentioned, it is going to impact us more as the global warming and the climate change is happening. And we need to find better solutions and keep innovating. What ma'am said, like, you know, institutions like NMIMS, they keep insisting on research as a great tool to basically, you know, come up with new technologies. And, like, you know, this could be a good project where, you know, where we actually focus on what are the harms of these sustainability initiatives as well. Because what happens is, each time that we as environmental consultants, we suggest certain things. So there is like a horse with a blind eye. ये checklist है, आपको ये follow करना है, आपका project environmentally sustainable है, आप pass हो जाओगे. But वो करते वक्त जो impacts आते हैं, वो भी देखना ज़रूरी है. So आप जो बोल रहे थे, like Chitendra sir, that there is a problem with buildings not installing the rainwater harvesting system. I'll give you an alternative. The buildings which are installing rainwater harvesting system, they don't know what to do with that water. So whenever there is like rainwater harvesting systems installed, so since BMC provides us with domestic water by sir and his team, so we basically are not using that rainwater harvesting water. So it stagnates in the ground. So there has to be a balance whenever these STP water we are doing dual plumbing and recycling it for flushing and gardening purposes. तो ये पानी आप जो बचाओगे रेनी सीजन के वक्त आपने उसको स्टोर कर लिया, बाकी के 6 महीने में कैसे यूटिलाइज करना है, इसके एसओपीज किसने दीनी है और इसको किस वे में यूज करना है, क्या करना है. एंड लाइक यू नो, वंस दोस टैंक्स ड्राई अप, हाउ विल दे रीफिल इज व्हाट. सो there is a lot of questions which sustainability also has to be answered, but
It's a very interesting topic, heat island effect. So when we are targeting to urbanize an area, we are not. It becomes very difficult to avoid heat island effect. So when we say that we are, there is a fact that almost 50% of the population of Mumbai is living in slums. So obviously we are going to have a lot of more developments going to come in the coming future. We are constructing, we are concretizing the roads, we are making the structures taller. So what happens is when the structures are dark colored and everything, so they end up trapping the heat in the structure, and they have high coefficients of heat. So they end up warming the surroundings. So as you rightly said, that the temperatures in Goregaon we have found out to be a bit lesser than Ghatkopar. So the answer to mitigate heat island effect is afforestation, to have more green spaces, to have solutions that help us reduce the temperature of the surrounding areas in the cities. So there are already some solutions in place. Actually, there are solutions like there are certain materials that the scientists have already developed and they have been implemented around the world. As there are some coatings that are being done on the roofs of the skyscrapers and buildings, where that reflects the heat back in the environment and outside into the space as well, so that the heat is not trapped into the building. There are many options like greenscaping, creating green spaces in the roofs, providing planting trees and everything. Afforestation is the mainly afforestation is required in the city spaces, even if there are no spaces around and anywhere that can be found. Larger park spaces are required. And when we are talking about surface runoff water, there are solutions like permeable pavements. So wherever there are no higher vehicular load required, there are cities that have already implemented such things that in the parks or in the walkways, the pavements are being permeable, so that the groundwater is being directly going into the water is directly going into the ground, and the groundwater table at least helps in replenishing the groundwater table to a certain extent. And rightly, as you mentioned about the rainwater harvesting point, it was a very good point. What I see is that there is a lack of knowledge among the consumers about the mandate of the systems, because currently we are seeing a lot of demand in commercial spaces to be green, but as a consumer, we don't see a lot of consumers opting for green building because already as a city, Mumbai has already become an unaffordable city. And
In fact, there was recently a very enthusiastic, very encouraging report by the IGBC, I think. They said in BKC, since most of the buildings have become green over the years, there's been a lot of saving in terms of electricity, there's been saving in terms of water. So overall, decarbonization has been achieved in a remarkable way in BKC. So it was almost equivalent, as they were calculating it, it was almost equivalent to taking away almost 50,000 vehicles from the road. It's such a huge decarbonization. So if BKC can make it, why not other areas? Simple question to all of you.
so can I start and just we can say this? So actually, this is what I said, that BKC is a complete commercial area, and currently there is a very high demand of all the developers are opting for green building, and they are saving a lot in electric energy efficiency, in terms of power savings, in terms of saving money in HVAC systems and lower heating and lighting, ventilation and everything. So what happens is, actually I lost my thoughts, sorry.
Basically, the green buildings, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. So
How BKC experiment can be implemented elsewhere, especially in Bombay, the old buildings and.
So yeah, there is one thing also that the consumers and our citizens does not know, is that there are also provisions of LEED, IGBC and GRIHA to convert an existing building into a green building. That is a big question because there are very few societies who are opting to convert their buildings into a green building. However, there are also ratings that are being provided by LEED, IGBC, and so there is LEED O&M that has similar certifications like the buildings under construction. There is IGBC, again, IGBC is also giving the certifications for buildings that are already operating for more than 1 year. And even GRIHA has GRIHA EB, that means GRIHA EB is existing buildings. They are also giving certifications for conversion of existing buildings into these things. So how do we enforce this better is like we'll require the government to provide more incentives to the end consumer as well as the developers who are implementing these ideas, so that these options are more lucrative to the people as well as the developers. That is how this is the only way that can be moved forward, as well as it should be a mandate. That's the end solution, that it should be mandatory to all the developers and these things.
Thank you. Earlier, we were discussing about the grey water. Madam, to you and Venu sir. Of course, Mumbai Municipal Corporation or other corporations in the state, they had formulated this idea of creating, CTPs, right? This water purification centers. So eventually, some of them came up, but there are 7 to 8, I think, projects that were planned to convert water into a grey water or convert saline water into a grey water so that it can be used for non-drinking purposes in the city. Eventually, those things have not come up. Do you think that institutions like NIMS can play a role in, catapulting or propelling all these stalled things and achieve certain results?
Definitely, at NMIMS Civil Engineering Department, we always make sure that what are the things coming up, we should give solution before. So the way I said, I will take first Sahil's thing ahead, that everybody knows that helmet is compulsory, but unless and until police gives some fine for that, nobody is
Exactly.
ready to wear it. So everybody knows that we should have the permeable strata for groundwater. That should be there. We know that the water is wasting. We know that the runoff is more. We know that saline water is coming up to wells. We know that we have to convert our saline water into grey water. All the things are there, research is going on. Implementation, as I always say, that implementation has so many things to cover up. But as an academician, I will make sure and I will assure you that all these things are happening in our institutes through our projects, through students' projects and all these things. So we try to see that whatever that might be the geotechnical area, that might be the geotextiles, that might be concrete, that might be water. All the things are being researched through the project so that whenever student is going out for the employability, at least he is sensitized towards all these things. So implementation is having a big role, but having the sensitivity regarding all these things, that we make sure that at our institute, at MPSTME and MIMS, we will provide to the students, and we are providing this class since last 10-15 years. So 2 examples are here only who are working in this area.
Do you think the institutions, the private companies or maybe the local administration is collaborating with the institutes like in terms of implementation?
Surely that type of coordination or cooperation is definitely happening, and that is how new technologies are getting implemented in sewage treatment and recycle and reuse of water, as well as you can say solid waste management also. One thing is what is being implemented is we have these sewage treatment plants. Once they are implemented, they will produce treated water. Now, how to reutilize that treated water? We cannot simply let it out in sea. So it has to be utilized in a sensible manner by taking it to some source to put that water back into nature, which can be put in circulation. So that is another challenge. So these treatment plants, these sewage treatment plants are there, huge sewage treatment plants, and they will be operated, they have been developed with very state-of-art technologies. Once they are ready, they will produce treated water of good quality. And that, how to utilize that good quality water, because we are getting water from 120 kilometers away. Now, if you want to put it back into those sources, are you going to pump it 120 kilometers? Or what is the better sustainable solution? Now, sustainability will come after studying all these aspects. Now, that is something I wanted to talk about after all this discussion. Now, civil engineering is a number of disciplines. And for this sustainability, interplay of all these disciplines is necessary. For this interplay, we need a lot of data from all these disciplines. Now that data, once it is available, we can do some sort of analysis. We can do sensitivity analysis. What happens because of your climate change? What are the shortcomings of current method? How this can be improvised? What new measures can be implemented? So there is a room for interdisciplinary actions by the engineers. And for that purpose, we need engineers who understand everything. Not just civil engineering, they understand even your data science, your computer science. Yes. So that is necessary, which will ensure the sustainability.
Saurabh can also.
So the major point, like I think what NMIMS and like institutions can do for the public sector projects is like, I think giving opportunities for the students to work there. I feel on the very basic level, I think rather than a research, yes, obviously, but the people who are inclined towards practical approach and just learning on the ground, seeing experts like Sahil, Vidyadhar sir and everybody else, and seeing what they do, how they do it, and learning those good things, and then bringing it back to the university as a feedback, and then bringing the knowledge to the students and doing sessions like this with other students involved. And I think that's something that the university and the public sector projects can obviously do. And every year, I keep insisting, when we were in college, I did my internships while the college was going on. And I think that is what helped me gain a certain responsibility. And I need to do better because I saw people better than me outside. So college is very a great time to be in, but the reality of the industry is a lot different. So I think the exposure, and it has to go hand in hand with these kind of large scale projects. Yes.
So let me add to this. At our curriculum, we have added 8 semesters as complete internship, industry internships, where students are learning out of college.
Much needed, much needed.
It is much needed. It was asked by many of the board of studies members. So now it is compulsory for students for completing the curriculum for the degree. Some credits are given for internship. So 15 weeks internship is compulsory for them. Obviously, as an academic institute, we monitor the things. We have the progress reviews for them, and we make sure that whatever, and we see the changes. When the student is going out of institute for the internship and when he is coming for his final viva, there are a lot of changes in his behavior, he or she is evolved. She also I will talk about. She is evolved a lot and much confident about the things about civil engineering, and they are more ready to go to society for giving solutions. As well, in the curriculum we have added 2 verticals or 2 specializations, because we have a system where some electives are added to the curriculum, because not only cohort courses are required but some electives are required. So we do have 18 credits of electives where the students can choose 6 courses, 3 credits each. So we have started 2 specializations. One is infrastructure engineering and management, and second is construction engineering and management. So since we know that this metro, docks, harbors, all these things are coming up, so we are making sure that students should get something out of this institute for having the knowledge of it.
This will take the institution a long way, definitely. And now, these could be the last question. I request you all to answer this. What are the key barriers to implementing the sustainability practices in your projects, and how to overcome them?
In the beginning, I said the impediments or barriers could be the reluctance to accept change. Second thing would be lack of knowledge. Third thing is something which is artificial at the moment, which is the finance or funding for such measures. And one more thing which is essential is legislative requirements. For example, there is a national water policy which mandates that 25% of water has to be recycled. How many places it is being done? Or is it 25% at centralized level or at decentralized level? Now, we should do some audit. We should check whether it is happening in overall manner or not. So, legislative manner is also essential so that people are forced to take these measures. And what is happening is people are relaxed, people don't take any action unless you force them. As we earlier said, that's a good, yes, story of helmet. And that is where we need to have government support or government enforcement for ensuring that all our measures are sustainable or our initiatives are sustainable to the extent that future generation will definitely get benefit.
I wish you give thrust on the engineering barriers which come.
Engineering barriers, as I said before also, a lot of research is required in that area. Some innovative solutions are required in that area. So telling the problems is easy, giving the solutions is difficult. So as academic institutes like us, we are bound to give all these solutions, at least some insights in the students so that they can give some innovative solutions to all these things. So barriers at every level we can face. But how to come up with those barriers, that we have to think about, and that's how the students are sensitized over here to take it up. So that is a positive thing. So as I told you, I'm very positive about the future generation and future of the world. So that's why all these things which are talking about, even though today these are looking negative things, but giving the solutions will convert it into the positive way.
Now over to your students who are with the private players. How do you see those barriers? How to come over them? Simple.
completely agree with Vengotika sir that the lack of knowledge is very prevalent in the industry right now, and especially in both the terms. As a consumer, sustainability comes with a price. As a developer, it also comes with a price. There is to buy a property in a green building is comparatively higher than the property that is not a green building right now. But what people don't realize is the ROI that is coming from the property. A person might be spending 10 to 15% extra in a property for a green building, but they don't realize that it will be like covered within 5 to 6 months in the energy efficiency by saving the energy in the buildings. The cost of the materials to build these green buildings currently are very high because there's the demand of these materials are comparatively low right now. If a mandate is being imposed to the developers, there would be a surge in the demand that would indeed create the decrease in the pricing of the sustainable materials, and in turn it will end up being used more. So this is what I feel that should be done.
So great answers by everybody. So one of the things like I feel like we are a very resource-rich country. Like India has everything like water, soil, food. So what I feel like we have taken it for granted, and we as a country don't value life as much as they do abroad. And that is the major difference. What is the critical point change is that we don't value life. We don't give it as much importance as everybody else does. I think we have too many people. That is one of the reasons. Or maybe we just are like, okay, fine, this is okay. We have accepted this as the norm that ऐसा ही है, ऐसा ही रहेगा. So I feel that is the biggest barrier. I feel cost, ideology, engineering, all of this comes with intent. So I feel if you value the other person enough to basically give a good solution, automatically rest of the things fall in place. So I feel the intent has to be there, and I think we need to value engineer, we need to value life, and we need to just do our thing. Yeah.
You rightly said, because my parents have been telling me that old Sanskrit verses have been saying that we are born out of these 5 elements. It's water, it's air, it's fire, and the space, and of course, yeah. So these 5 elements are getting contaminated day by day. It's water and air, we feel it almost every day. And the greenhouse gases, of course, you can see how the things are changing, the radiation that we are getting. So thank you for the insightful discussion, and thanks to the panel, especially NMIMS, for throwing light on all these aspects. And thank you very much. Thanks to you.
Thank you everyone on behalf of PSPME Civil Department. Thank you Vengotika sir. Engineers are there for building the nation. We are creating the world, we are establishing the world, and we are making sure that no harm is provided to Mother Earth. So understanding all these things about civil engineering, I would like to say that all of you who are aspiring to come to NMIMS and PSPME, NCET lines are open till 26th May, so you can join and you can come here for joining the program of BTech in Civil Engineering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.